Welcome back to Marie's Mindful Makes and to an episode of Show and Tell where I show you all of the things, or at least a lot of the things, that I've made in the past season. The past season being autumn. Because as for me, as a maker, the seasons work a little bit differently. Like right now, I'm done with my autumn making. Like it's all about Christmas, it's all about winter. Autumn has passed. It might be a beautiful golden October, November day outside, but on my knitting needles, that doesn't count. Honestly, I have never been much of an autumn person, but I think that was purely because I'm from northern Germany, and autumns in northern Germany are just simply nothing to enjoy. There is nothing romantic about a northern German autumn unless you have a very melancholic side to yourself and you really, really, really love rain and the lack of daylight. So for me, like having this romantic perception of autumn as this golden season never really resonated until I first moved to Poland and then later to southern Austria, where the autumn is honestly even nicer than in southern Poland. And I started to realize that autumn actually is a beautiful season. Same with late summer. It's in northern Germany. Back in the days, now of course everything changes, but back in the days it went from a mediocre summer into depression season. There was like no in between. And here you have all of these different beautiful transition periods, and it is just so nice, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely adore it. Though in the past few years, autumn has also been a very travel heavy period for me, which often means that I have a lot of travel time, I have a lot of knitting time, which actually works out perfectly with my Christmas knitting schedule. But we're going to talk about that in a bit. First of all, let's grab something to drink. Maybe grab yourself a creative project to tag along and enjoy. Today I am wearing the Marieke sweater by Avec. This sweater had been in my pattern library and in my knitting queue since 2019. And finally, the yarn that I knitted it from inspired me to actually make it. The main yarn is the lightweight hand-dyed Bell yarn, an 80% merino, 20% nylon superwash blend by the Canadian brand Artfill. I combined it with leftovers of sock weight skeins. I adapted the pattern to have waist shaping with decreases along the sides, and I also tapered the sleeves at a shorter interval and added more decreases to fit well around my wrists. I found that in the original size S that I knitted, the wrists were way too wide to actually fit comfortably around my own arms. This sweater is a real showstopper and I absolutely love it, and it is also the first stranded colorwork sweater that I ever knitted myself, so you can imagine just how proud I am about it. So yeah, this sweater is an absolute highlight. I love it so much. It was one of the pieces that I took with me when I was traveling for 3 weeks straight last month, and I've worn it many, many times. But overall, this autumn period has been really productive for me, creatively productive, professionally productive. And I did also finish a lot of other amazing things. So let me show you. One of the things that has been a long time coming is my random striped home front jumper. I knitted most of this through the summer. I frogged a lot of it because I mismeasured the size. But yeah, it is done if we are ignoring the insides, because can you imagine just how many ends there are to finish? And just yesterday, as I was trying to sleep, I think I might have found a good way to actually deal with all of these loose ends. So I'm gonna try it out, and I'm sure that at some point in the near future there will be an episode that talks about stash knitting and about random stripes, all of that. So I'll save my trick that I hope will work until then, and I'm also going to talk a little bit more about this beautiful garment in its own designated episode. So, but yeah, for now this is it, and I do hope that I can wear it very soon because it's just so cool and so unique. My greatest sewing success, or the projects that the garment project that I enjoyed making the most, is my new Jenna dress, a closet cord pattern. I mean, I'll show a picture. Then I'll also show it here once more, because you can actually see the inside where I added a little tag and then also stamped. I made these stamps myself, and I actually love to add them to projects, especially in projects where you don't really know where the front or the back is. This is super practical because you can just stamp it in. There's no scratching, you know, if you have a t-shirt and you want to just stamp it in, it's a really good way to mark the back without having to worry that something's going to be itching. Yeah, there's a lot of little details in this dress, and it's also, I'm just so proud of how I worked it. I think it looks super professional, how the collar looks. I had these buttons in stash, which actually I also had this fabric in stash. I had originally intended to make a skirt from it, but it is so heavy that I was like, no, a skirt on itself is just gonna not work as well as a dress would. So yeah, this is a fabric I had in stash, and then the buttons I also had in stash, which yeah, I think works out very, very well. This pattern is of course a little bit tricky to make because it has all of the like shirt making techniques, but in terms of fit, it is super easy to make because there is no real shaping in it. There are no darts, no waist darts, no bust darts. It's a very straight cut bodice, so it's a very casual fit, but still dressy because it is a shirt dress. And as you can see in the picture, I really enjoy wearing it with a belt to cinch it in. And I think that looks really cool and chic. So yeah, because it is this pretty heavy linen, it is actually perfect for autumn. This is also a piece that traveled with me for the past 3 weeks, and I've worn it so much. I also wore it on a really cold day. I wore it with a t-shirt, like a long sleeve t-shirt layered underneath. And it was actually perfect. I didn't need a cardigan. So yeah, it's a really, really good and versatile autumn piece. And I also want to say, since we're already talking about traveling, I cannot emphasize enough just how perfect linen and wool are for travel closets, because they are self-cleaning to a certain extent, so they air out really nicely, and they're also really easy to spot clean. And I think that's super convenient when you're traveling, to have clothes that don't need so much washing. You can go several wears without needing to worry to find a wash saloon or to be dependent on a washing machine. So yeah, and that's actually about garments almost already it. I did also make another dress, like a pinafore style dress, that I'm unsure how I'll feel about it, so I need to just wear and style it a little bit more to see if I'm gonna warm up to it. And then I also finally made myself another nightgown. For this nightgown, I hacked the Nocturne pajamas by Sue Liberated, because well, originally many years ago I made the Nocturne pajamas and I realized that no, I really am not a pajama person, but I really liked the top of the pajamas, so I just lengthened the side seams, including the flare that comes from the pattern, and then I added a nice curved hem. Voila! It's a really nice and comfortable nightgown. It's not the first I made that way, so I know that I really like it. It's really comfortable, and I'm happy I finally got around to it. The second half of my year is always full of gift making. First, it's many people's birthday throughout autumn, and then Christmas prep is also starting for me latest in October. This year, I actually started in September. I don't mind making gifts at all, so this isn't something I'm dreading, it's just a fact. And it also takes some planning, of course. By the time that you are seeing this video, friends and family are already enjoying their newest Marie mates. So I actually pre-recorded the next part of this video just so that I would be able to actually physically show you the beautiful things that I made and then took with me when I went to Germany in October to distribute among family and friends. Welcome from my kitchen. I thought if we are mixing things up this month, why not mix it up for real? The first thing that I want to show you today is a cute and colorful children knit. It's interesting because it's the first time that that particular child actually gets a child or toddler knit and not anymore a baby knit. They grow so fast. This is it. It's the Holger sweater by Petite Knit. This is a DK knitting pattern, and as you can see, I used blue and light gray stripes for the body, and then I used all kind of leftover yarns for the rest of the sweater. So this is a really good stash busting knit, especially if you have small quantities of a DK. What I did is that I used those small quantities of DK for the sleeves and the neckband and the hem, but then I bought 2 balls of each color for the body, so it was a good compromise between stash busting but then also getting something where I was like, this would bring all of the colors really well together. And then I added a little tag here. My auntie made this. So yeah, I think this is really, really cute. It is definitely a big size considering the size of the child. So I think they'll be wearing this for at least a year, which I love, if that is the possibility with children knits. But then honestly, I have a feeling that with children's knitwear, they can go a really long way. What I like to do is to knit the sleeves a little bit longer than indicated in the pattern, and then also the body maybe a little bit, or if I'm using superwash yarn, I know that the body will grow a little bit anyway. So as the child wears the sweater and the yarn wears out and grows a little longer, it really grows with the child. And I like to knit sweaters from top down, because it means that you can also always just unravel the hem or the ribbing and then just add a little bit of length to give it some time, because usually kids grow in this direction and not so much in this direction. So yeah, that's what I like to do about children knits. Next up is a much larger project. Yeah, I can't fit the entire sweater on here, but this is a simple raglan sweater design. This is for my father, who really loves to wear colorful sweaters and t-shirts, but it can be a little bit difficult to get buy colorful sweaters and t-shirts from Min, because Min's fashion is still so conservative in colors, where the most colorful that you can get is maybe a navy blue or a dark green. So I've been making him sweaters and t-shirts for every occasion ever since he first pronounced that wish of his. I had a whole set of t-shirts planned for this year's birthday, but something went wrong. This has never happened to me before. So I ordered only 1 meter of all of the fabrics, which obviously is not enough for an adult men's t-shirt. So now I had to reorder 0.5 meter just to have enough for the sleeves, but it will not arrive before the birthday, so yeah, that won't happen. But luckily I had the fabric for this sweatshirt. I added some tags because I think that always gives a very cute extra to any gift. And yeah, I think it's a very nice sweater. I hope you will wear it. It is a little bit weird because for some reason making for my father is a little bit jinxed. Something very often goes wrong. Like the very first sweater that I made for him, and I had already made that specific sweater, which is the basic pulli für ihn by Lotte and Ludwig, many times for my husband, but for some reason I traced the pattern wrong and the sleeves were like 3/4. But I only realized once he actually tried the sweater on. So that was a little bit weird. And yeah, now I ordered the wrong fabric. And then also now with this sweatshirt, it is actually also, I'm wondering if there is something wrong about this pattern in the description. I have to go back and check because I was also really short on fabric this time. And I really had to puzzle like crazy to get the right amount, to get all of the pattern pieces on the fabric I had. The advantage is that I have nearly nothing left of the fabric. I just had enough for one little extra thing. It's a doll sweater. So that is what I had left of the fabric. I mean, a little bit more too, but it was crazy. I really had to get very creative about how to cut it out, but I did it. I made it. Yeah, so this is actually the doll version of the exact same sweatshirt that I made for my father. It's one of the doll patterns by Lotte and Ludwig, and it's really adorable. It closes in the back with Velcro. And then I also, because it put me in such a mood to make dolls clothes, and I had a very teeny tiny bit of fabric left from a nightgown that I knitted myself this month, I also went in and made a pyjama for a doll. And I think it's just so adorable and I really love it. I love making dolls garments. It is a real comfort project for me. When I was a child, I had this idea of becoming a toy maker, and I feel like this is a little bit of that child dream of myself coming true. I also in general really enjoy making toys, even if I don't really have much use for it. But these things here, they will go to a friend's daughter who already, I mean, her doll is quite well equipped at this point, because sadly she is the only child I know who actually plays with dolls. All of my nieces and nephew never really did, which I think is a shame. But yeah, so all of these things will go to her, and I hope she'll love it. I definitely do. I think it is so pretty. Look at it again. It's so nice. I just really love it. I love making it. It's a little bit fiddly, but then I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're doing it all perfectly. Like, you don't have to care at all for like sizing and stuff, because it's a doll. I mean, you want it to be comfortable. You want the doll to be comfortable, of course. But yeah, it's nice, and I really enjoy making it. And it is also a perfect project for leftover pieces. Well, and then I have one more garment to show you at this point, and I will not talk about it too much because I have an entire episode dedicated to this particular garment, and also the question how to make sure you are enjoying the process of making for others and for gift making. Spoiler alert, I did not always enjoy making this specific gift, but I'm so happy how it is now and how it looks, and I think my friend is going to love it. Ah, it's big. So this is the Mayberry cardigan by and Other Knits, Amy Loden, and it is a fisherman rib cardigan. But yeah, as I said, all of the things will be discussed in detail in another episode. I'm going to see my friend next week, and I'm going to give this sweater to her. And yeah, so yeah, as you can see, I made a few projects for others, and all of them are really, really nice. So I wanted to make sure to show them to you in action, in motion. And let's move back into the present from the past. This sounds weird recording it, as I am very much in my own presence. Of course, I don't only make garments. I love the satisfaction of a good accessory or a smaller knit or just cute little things. I really am very much an all-rounder when it comes to creative projects. Especially bag making is something that I really, really enjoy. I've been meaning to make myself a duffel bag for weekend trips or shorter travels for a while. And the one that you see me showing off right now has been a real last minute, night before the flight kind of project, but hand-sewn finishing included. So just because you're short on time doesn't mean you should compromise on quality. I don't particularly recommend this particular pattern, so I will not link the designer. I found it on Etsy. But I definitely love this style of bag. It is so spacious and it's just easy to throw everything in and close it and go. I added some tags just for fun and also a little zipper compartment at front, because sometimes it's good to have like a little bag for things that you maybe need easier access to. Yeah, and as you can guess, I already mentioned that I've been traveling so much in October, and believe me that bag traveled with me as the footage from Skopje airport shows. I already mentioned my plotter before, and the very first thing that I made with it was actually this hat, this beret. So the plotter, the Cricut cutting machine cut all of these shapes for me from woolen felt, and then I hand embroidered it onto this beret. The pattern are, the SVG files. The pattern are by Tip and Top Henny. You can get it on her Patreon, and I think it's just really, really adorable, and I love it, and I really want to make myself more of these kind of berets. Of course, it's not the most versatile kind of piece. Like, you really have to see how to style it. Yeah, it's because it's such a standalone accessory. Like, it can be a little bit tricky to style, but I really, really love it, and I think it brings people a lot of joy. And yeah, I think it's definitely very kitschy, but in a good way, right? It's also very whimsical, and I think that's a good thing, like to have a little bit of whimsy and a little bit of kitsch in your life. I think it's it just makes things a little bit more joyful. Talking of kitschy, so I also made this pillow, which is really, I didn't use a pattern. I just traced the heart and then I cut it out, and then I added the ruching here. And it's a patchwork that I saw the patchwork together. So yeah, I also did that. But I think it's you can see I'm a little bit how do I explain this to people? No, but I think it is if we compare this beret and this isn't kitschy at all. Like we're good here. This is like the epitome of kitsch, but I really like it, and I have this idea of adding a little bit more comfort to the guest bed in my sewing room by making all of these different patchwork pillows, or just pillows in general. And this is the first one I made, and I honestly love it. I think it's so cute. But I also have to admit that when I showed this to my husband, who is the most loving and supportive and appreciative person I know, he was like, nice, that's for your room, right? I was like, yeah, don't worry, this is not gonna be living on our couch. So yeah, that's another cute little thing that I made. And besides that, I made just very few accessories. I had actually intended to make more, but then as I said, got started on Christmas making. So the accessories are not for me, they're for other people. And of course, I'm not going to talk about them now or show them now, because otherwise it would be a spoiler for people. What I did make for myself is one of these mitts. I made them originally, a pair. I made this pair in, I think, 2019 or 2020, a while ago. And then earlier this year, I lost one of them. And yeah, so I had to make myself a new one. Luckily, I still had enough of the same yarn. And honestly, at this point, I don't even know which one's which. I did have to size down when I made the new one, because my gauge has relaxed so much in comparison to 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, with the adapted needle size, they look exactly the same. And they're so nice, and I love them now in autumn. I did also make myself a pair of mittens, convertible mittens to be precise. So this is a new pattern that was designed by And Other Knits, Amy Loveton. They are the Claremont mittens, and I test knitted them, and I think they're really cute. Like, they, as you can see, they're convertible, so you can like have them like this, and then you have like an actual pair of mittens. And I thought that I would love them, and it's definitely not the pattern's fault that I don't. But I think I'm just not so much the person for convertible mittens. So going forward, I hope that I'll find time to make myself a pair of closed mittens. Yeah, and talking about mittens is already very much talking about winter and talking about what's to come. As I said, for me now, most of my time will be spent making Christmas gifts. There are quite a few accessories that I have planned to make, but yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it now. Also a little bit superstitious in that way, you know, like on Instagram, you can silence your stories for people so they can't see it. But I never do that. Like, I never post things on Instagram and then hide the story for the person it's for, because I'm just too scared, and I also think, no, it's probably gonna be bad luck if I'm going that way. So I just don't do it. I'm just like, there's like no talking, no. it's all secret. There is one more thing that I can show, and that is the Christmas sweater that I'm making for myself. So this is the Sleigh Ride sweater by Poison Girls, and the pattern was published last year in November. I purchased the pattern immediately, and I wanted to make it immediately. I had this yarn in stash last year, and I was very set on making it, but then first of all, the color work intimidated me, and I also had just so many Christmas projects going on at that time that I was like, no, there's no way. So I started this in September to make sure that it's gonna be finished, and I actually knitted this sleeve in like 2 days. So I'll be knitting this sleeve this weekend, and then it will actually be very much ready in time for all of the holiday celebrations. And because it is this kind of blue and white color palette, I think it will also go so nicely into the rest of winter. I really want this to be a winter sweater more than a Christmas sweater. That's why I decided to go for this blue and white. And yeah, I love it. And it's also so cozy and just so nice, and such a classic design. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make sure to show you how this looks in my next show and tell video, which I assume will be published sometime around Christmas, then also showing all of the Christmas gifts that I've made, or at least all of the interesting ones. And yeah, I can't wait to catch up with you again. I would be super happy to learn what you're currently making. What was your highlight of autumn knitting or autumn sewing or autumn any creative project? Let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I would love if you wanted to like this video or follow my channel, Marie's Mindful Makes. And yeah, I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.